Yeah, because like a guy, for example, let's say a guy who like completely lacks confidence, and you're as a coach, like, okay, just fake the confidence. Like it's the girl's going to see right through that he's not actually confident.
Mhm.
You could hide it a little bit, but it's gonna, especially if you're like not confident at all, it's gonna obviously it's just gonna.
The best analogy or explanation I've ever heard of this for the confidence thing is when you were a kid, you didn't have problems going into the sandbox and playing with the other kids. There was no approach anxiety when you were a child. What
Sure.
happens is the ego forms, you start comparing one thing to another, and then you start comparing yourself to everything else. And that conflict is what causes people to have not anxiety. Or not confidence. So confidence is already there. You just put on top of it. And when you remove that, we say words like stop caring about what other people feel, but these are things that you've put on top of a natural confidence that you already had as a human being. It's just over time, it's a level of either trauma or just comparisons of things. I'm not as tall as him, as rich as him, as good looking as him, yada yada, or as funny as him. And then those things start to weigh down on your confidence. And then when you really truly come to the grasp, and this I think one of the reasons why it worked for me was I remember when I first went to Las Vegas, the first time I was here, I was very intimidated. I would go to these clubs and there were these guys who were in suits and they all looked like they knew what they were doing. And then 5 or 6 years later, when I was one of those guys, I came to the realization, no, none of us knew what we were doing. We're all dealing with the same level of anxiety. So there's no reason for any of us to not feel confident. And I think that's kind of the thing is like when you come to the realization that it's like everyone's going through the same kind of anxiety, confusion. Nobody has all the answers just like you do. And you're going to die. Just come to grips with your own mortality. You're going to die. Then that's where confidence can kind of come back. You can peel these things off of your ego, these comparisons that you have to other people, so that you can go off and just not care as much about what other people think.
Did you get that from RSD? Because I heard something similar when I read.
Oh, maybe. I mean, I spent a lot of time with Owen, so that could be. But like, there's a few other people. It's probably more from Eckhart Tolle, which I
which
mean,
probably is where Owen got it.
which he
So
talks. Yeah, Owen talks about Eckhart Tolle, but Eckhart talks about this whole concept. It was like, no, it's your comparison. It's you wanting things to be any different than they are. And then when you look at with women, a lot of times with their physical form, there's studies that show that women who get plastic surgery are actually happier long term. It's in the book called The Happiness Hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt. And
that's a
why
good
is
book,
it? Why is it? It's because like women report breast implants 10 years later reporting higher levels of self-confidence. Why is that? Is because it was a constant comparison that they made to other people that was making them feel worse, feel less confident. And so that's essentially what happens. For a man, like again, I probably, because I don't really get rejected, because it's probably a perpetuating cycle, because I know how to talk to women and I don't get rejected. Because I don't get rejected, I have more confidence when I go talk to women, which then I don't get rejected, which I have more confidence when I go talk to women. And so I think the opposite type of cycle can hurt men, where it's like all of a sudden, it's not just the fact that they're getting rejected or not the results that they want. They look at the other guys in the boot camp or the coach or the guy they saw online, and they're not doing as good as him. And so that now their confidence drops even more. So I've seen that happen. I had a friend of mine the other day. We went to go see Anima, the show over at the Sphere, and there was this super hot girl like right in front of us, and I knew her, and I tapped her on the shoulder, turned around, and we just started making out. He said, dude, when you started doing that, it like I was so out of state, like I had to leave. Like I was just like, I was bothered me so much that you did that I had to leave. And so that's what happens. We compare ourselves to other people. You know, in this coaching space, I compare myself to Alex Hermosi or like, you know, in the podcast space with like Chris Williamson. I'm nowhere near as big as them. Right. And so I might get down because of it. But then I start thinking about the things I have accomplished and the fact that I get to talk for a living and I have gratitude for it. And then I come to the realization I'm going to die. So what does it matter? Well, you know, what is the point
the
of not
takeaway
being
there is,
confident now?
ladies, get your titties done because it'll make the guys happy and it'll make you happy. It's a win-win. There's no losers in that.